You know, you'd be amazed what you could do if you put your mind to it. We look at things in our lives and we sometimes wonder, how did I ever get through that? How did I ever make it through that? How did I get through this trial or this tribulation? We look back at things in our lives that we thought were difficult and bad, but we made it through, and you made it through. You're a survivor. You've got the scars, but the scars mean that you survived. I never dreamed that I could be a repo man. It was just never on my radar. It was, I surrendered to preach when I was young, and pastored in Virginia, pastored over in Athens, and about 1976, I guess it was, I decided I could do a better job than the Lord, and I retired from the ministry. I was away from the Lord. I wasn't right with God, and I went into business with a couple of friends, and we started doing private investigations, and then we started doing repos, and I started doing the repos, and I ended up being the repo man. Had no idea what I was doing, had absolutely no idea. I didn't even know. You know, they have this thing that's called the Fair Debt Collections, Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, and it's the law that governs what a recovery agent, repo man, repo woman, what they can do, the things that they can do and they can't do. And I hope you will forgive me for letting the secret out of, letting the cat out of the bag, letting the secrets out. But in Alabama, it's a self-help recovery state. In other words, if you've lent someone money and they bought something and they owe you money and they quit paying, you can go get your property. You can go get the vehicle and you can take it. You can help yourself. It's self-help recovery. Louisiana's not that way. I repoed in Louisiana, did Mississippi title loans, and many times they would live across the line in Louisiana. And in Louisiana, you had to get a paper signed. You had to, they had to sign the paper, and you couldn't take the vehicle if they didn't sign the paper. Now, you could take it if you felt like you could get out of state before the cops caught you. But if the cops caught you, then it was grand theft. So, not the game either. It was grand theft, serious, welcome to prison. And so I did a lot of it there. And you do what you have to do. But this thing about the Fair Debt Collections Practice Act, I was doing repos for a while before I ever got a copy of it and began to understand what I could and couldn't do as a repo man. But let's talk about the Bible for a second. We talk about the Bible and we talk about as a Christian the authority that God gives us. But see, with the Fair Debt Collections Practice Act, I counted on, as a repo man, I counted on the fact that the debtor doesn't know his authority under the Fair Debt Collections Practices Act. In other words, in Alabama, if I'm here, let's say I'm sitting here in my office and my car's right outside, and I hear, hang on a minute, I hear somebody come outside and they're out there and there's a truck out there and he's fixing to repo my car. Now, what I can do legally is step out and say, hey man, I object to this repossession, and the repossession is over. According to the law, the repossession is over. He can't take it once I object. Now he can leave and go around the block and come back and take it again and try to take it again, and if he gets it this time, fine. If he gets it off private property, it's his. I had an incident that happened over in Florence, well, let's see, Muscle Shoals or Tuscumbia over there somewhere off of Avalon Avenue. And we had been looking for this guy for a long time. And he had moved down here from up north, and it'd been months since he'd made a payment. He didn't let the bank know that he'd moved and where he'd gone, so we had the investigators find him. Well, they found him at a road that was right about a block off of Avalon Avenue. I went over there one day, and sure enough, there was the brown van sitting in his driveway. I got out and walked up there and checked the VIN number, and then I got my truck and backed up to it, started to pick it up. He comes running out of the house. He goes, wait, where are you going? I said, man, I got to take this car. I'm sorry. I said, I got to take it. I'm sorry. I've got to go. Now, I was bluffing, and I was hoping he didn't know the law. He didn't know the law because evidently, he said, well, he evidently didn't know the law because he said, oh, okay, all right, let me get a box and I'm gonna get my stuff out. So reluctantly, I'm like, okay, fine. So he goes to get a box, but while he's inside, he calls the police. So I'm sitting in my truck, got the van behind me, and he's cleaning his stuff out, quote unquote, cleaning his stuff out, and the police show up. Well, one policeman goes to talk to him, and another one, he comes over to the truck and he goes, hey man, you know I can't let you take this now. I said, yeah, man, I understand. You know, I know which way the rats run. I know the game, and that's fine. So I let the van down, and I went back and talked to the guy, and I'm like, oh yeah, man, you really need to talk to the finance company. You need to get this thing all worked out with them. You know, get it all taken care of, and I'll wait to hear from them. But while I was back there talking to him, I was looking around like, how can I get in this yard again? How can I get back here to get this vehicle? And there was a field full of tall grass right there that went right over to Avalon Avenue. And so I got in the truck and I left, and I went around the corner, and the police left after I left. And so the guy got in his van and he pulled it around behind his house. So he's gone back inside. The police have gone. I'm over there on my truck. I drive through the field, turn around, back up to the truck, the van, and pick it up, put it in drive, and I'm headed out across the field. He comes running out of the house. He goes, where are you going? I said, away. And I got out on Avalon Avenue, and I went down. He jumped in a car, and he followed me. And finally, he pulled me over. I pulled into a church parking lot a couple of blocks away, and he called the police again. They showed back up, and he's going, hey, tell him to give me my van back. And they said, no, you can't have it this time. He got it off of private property, and it's his. But you see, I was counting on the fact that this guy didn't know the Fair Debt Collections Practices Act. He didn't know his authority when I came to pick it up, and I counted on that a lot, because most of the time, debtors don't know the authority they have. But isn't that true with us as Christians? For those of us that have trusted Christ, we've got a lot of authority in Christ, but the devil's counting on the fact we don't know that authority. You know, the devil's counting on the fact that we know, well, you know, I just have to live this way. It's just the way I am. I can't get the victory over this. We struggle with some habit or something, and we don't realize that we can have the victory. But when you go to, you know, somebody signs a paper to buy a car, somewhere in that fine print, there is the possibility that they're going to deal with a repo man. Now, when I say deal with a repo man, the best repo of all is hook and book. That's what they call it. You hook it up and you leave. You don't ever talk to the people. You just get it and go. My problem was I spent years as a pastor, and I have a heart for people. And I just, you know, I had a hard time just taking it and leaving, especially if there was a baby seat in it or a Bible in it. And I would get it. Now, many times I would get it and take it off the property, and then I would go back to talk to the people, because once I got it off the property, you can fuss all day long. It's mine. You ain't getting it back. But if it's still on the property, you know, the police show up. Well, I hadn't got it. I can't take it. There was a situation where, what's that all about? There was a situation where we'd been looking for a Mustang, a yellow Mustang over in Fort Payne. We've been looking for it for a long time, and this is another case. You know, I dealt with people. It's kind of like sowing and reaping. You know, I looked at how they were doing. You know, if somebody was 2 weeks behind on their payment, I'm going to go talk to them. You know, I'll go talk to them, say, hey, look, I'm here to pick up the car. And Family Security was great. Family Security would let them call in, and they could call in and make arrangements, and I didn't have to take the vehicle. Well, for me, that was great, because it's, you know, if I got a repo was $70 at the time. I don't know what it is now, but an involuntary repo was $70. So let's say I'm in Guntersville, and I repossess a vehicle, and I take it back to Falkville and do my paperwork and everything, and then go back to Guntersville to go on my next assignment or my next case or my next vehicle. You know, I've spent 3 hours going back and forth. Well, it's worth it for me for them to be able to pay it up, because a repo was $70, but a close was $50. In other words, if they called and said, hey, I'm going to make a payment tomorrow, I'll make a payment Friday, and the bank said, okay, we'll let them do it, then, you know, it was $50 as opposed to 70, but it saved me from having to come back and go on. So I love to be able to talk to them. So, you know, you look at somebody, you look at their record, and you look at, you know, here's somebody that, you know, they've missed a payment. This is the first time they've missed a payment. You've got the record there. And, you know, so you may go talk to them. But then there are other people, you know, here's somebody that's, you know, 9 months behind, and they're from a city up north or something like that, like the fellow with the van. And so, you know, you kind of deal with them the way they've been dealing with the finance company. But there was a yellow Mustang over in Fort Payne. We'd been looking for it for a while, and so they finally tracked it down. When you go into Fort Payne, just before you get to the Alabama Museum, you know, the boys, Group Alabama, there's a McDonald's there on the left. You turn left there and you go up the hill, and there was an office up there. And they tracked down this yellow Mustang to somebody that she's working in that office up there. And they may have even owned the business. And so, anyway, I went up there, and there's the Mustang sitting in the parking lot. But it's sitting in front of a bay window. There's a big window there, a big picture window. And I'm thinking, man, I hope they don't look out that window. And so I just walked up there and I checked the VIN number, and it was my vehicle. Went back and got in my truck, backed up there, picked it up, pulled it out, and went across the street and parked right straight across the street in the grass. And then I got my paperwork. I walked back inside and I said, I need to speak to so-and-so. And this lady came to the counter, and I said, I'm Steve Andrews, and I'm with Family Security, and I'm here to pick up your car. And I just wanted to get the keys from you and let you get your stuff out. Now, that'd do two things. If I got the keys from them, it's going to save the debtor money. I'm doing it to be nice to them. It's saving money from us having to have keys made. A couple of $100, it's saving some money. But also, if they get their personal property out, they don't have to drive all the way to Huntsville and pay the storage fee to get their property back. So I'm doing them a favor. And I said, I'm here to pick up the car for Family Security. And I keep in mind, these people had been hiding the car, and they didn't expect me to show up. So I said, I'm here to pick up the car, and you're welcome to get your stuff out of it and give me the keys. We ain't giving you the keys. Well, I just thought I would, let you get your stuff out and get the key, make it easier on you, be cheaper on you. Well, you ain't getting the key, you ain't getting the car. Well, I just stepped back and I motioned to the front door. It's a glass door, and they could see the car was on the lift on the truck across the street. Why, you'd have thought somebody kicked over an anthill. You'd have thought the Keystone Cops had arrived. Man, she started yelling. People started coming out of the back office. They started coming out there. They all come running over there. They went over and got in the car, got in the back of my truck, and called the police. Well, the police show up, and I showed him my paperwork, and he told her, he said, ma'am, he can have the car. He's got it. It's on public property. He's got it off of private property, so it's his. Well, they fussed and they fumed and they got their stuff out, and I said, can I have the key? No, you ain't getting the key. I said, ma'am, it's only going to cost you more money for you not to give me the keys, because we're going to have keys made so I can finish my report on it. No, sir, you ain't getting the key. Fine, that's fine. I took it back, put it to bed, and the rest is history. But, a lot of times, people didn't know the law. Like, she didn't know that once I had it on public property. Other times people have come out and said, hey, you can't take that. But listen, we have a lot of authority when it comes to the Bible, when it comes to the things that we can and we can't do, and victories that we can have in our lives. And we can live better lives if we just learn a bit more about what the Lord's got for us and the power and the blessings that we have in Christ. But a lot of people live their lives by fear instead of by faith. When I was doing repos, you come to the point where, it's not just drive around and it's all happy-go-lucky. There comes a time when you got to jump. There comes a time when you gotta bite the bullet, and you got to go get in that car and drive it off, or you got to back up to that car and pray that nobody looks out. Let me see if I can find it right here. I got it right here. I only got shot at seriously one time. And this is the shell. This is a 9mm shell. I was looking for I forgot what it was. Seemed like it was a Camaro, but we had been looking for a car for quite a while. And I went down to Cordova. This is way down in Walker County, and it was probably 11 o'clock at night, I guess, is in the middle of the night. And so I was down there, and I found it. It's in a project down there, and I backed up to the Camaro. Well, a neighbor, he came out and he saw me backing up to it, so he went and got the debtor. Well, the debtor, he comes running out there, man. He's running, he's hollering, don't you take that car. He runs back in the house, and he comes back out with a 9mm. Now listen, already the repo is really legally over. When he came out and started fussing, I backed off. I leaned against the back of the truck. I got my paperwork here, and I'm like, well, man, I'm really supposed to take this, and I'm bluffing. Okay, I'm what do we call that? Yeah, bluffing. It ain't a lie, it's bluffing. So I'm bluffing, man. I really got to take the car. I'm sorry, got to take the car. He runs back inside, comes out with a 9mm. He goes, bam, shoots right next to my foot. He said, that's your butt if you take that car. He didn't say butt, but the shell went back in the back of my car, or back of my truck. Well, about that time, a little bit after that, the Cordova police come flying up on a shots fired call. Police comes up. The debtor's parents come up and block my truck in. Well, Steve, the repossession is way over. I mean, it's been over for a long time. And so, I talked to the young man and got him calmed down, and, his parents were there talking to him, and they were nice folks. They were all nice folks. I really feel like you treat people the way you want to be treated. You treat people with respect, not because they deserve respect, but because of who you are. You treat them with respect, not necessarily, they may not deserve it, but you're better than that. And so anyway, the policeman, I recognized the policeman. His name was Chris, and he used to be a repo man in Huntsville. I'd known him a couple of years before. He wrote a book. I got a book around here somewhere that he wrote about repossessions. But, so anyway, calmed everybody down, and the parents left. The young man went back in the house. I got in my truck to leave, and I drive around the corner. And Chris, the policeman, is sitting there laughing himself silly. He's just laughing about what went on, and so, I left, and come to find out that it was a mistake on the part of the finance company, and this boy wasn't behind on his payments. But the finance company had made a mistake, and here I am getting shot at because of a mistake that somebody else made. In fact, it happened again. There was up on Sand Mountain. It was during the day, and it was I believe it was a red Ford Expedition, and I was up there around Rangeville or somewhere, and I was out in the country, and I pulled up there, and there's the Expedition in the driveway, and I went over and checked the VIN number, and that was it. And so I picked it up, and I pulled it out on the road, and then I went back to the door to ask for the keys and let them get their stuff out of it. Well, when the lady came to the door and I told her what had happened, she went bonkers. I mean, she went ballistic. She said, "Oh no, oh my, you got to put that car back." Said, my husband will have a fit when he sees that. My husband, we're not late. My husband's going, "Oh, you just can't, it's off. My husband has a temper." Well, everybody says that. Everybody says my husband got a temper. Her husband had a temper. He had been in prison for killing a repo man. That got my attention. And so, I'm talking to her. I'm standing there talking to her on the porch. Here comes the husband in the other vehicle. He comes driving up. He jumps out. He sees what's going on. He gets a bow and arrow out of the truck that he's in. He knocks up, he gets the bow, he notches it up, and he comes up there to talk to me. Now, he's intent on doing harm to Mrs. Andrews' little boy, and we ain't going to let that happen. We start talking. We start buddying up with the guy. We start backpedaling real fast. And he's talking, I'm talking, I'm called off. I'm saying, Liz was our skip tracer. I said, "Liz, this man has a bow and arrow with a razor tip on the end, and I don't believe I'm going to be able to take this car." Well, we talked back and forth for a while. Anyway, she fixed us some tea, and we sat there and chit-chatted for a while. And he did. He had killed a repo man. And but we chit-chatted a while. I left the vehicle. And on that one too, the only two times I've really had problems, both times the finance company had messed up. He was not behind. He was right. But see, you treat people with respect wherever it is, sowing and reaping, whatever it is. Take that leap, take that jump, whatever job you're doing right now, whatever it is, do the best you can. Be the best you can be there. Learn more, do more, give more, contribute more. Make yourself invaluable. Make yourself indispensable to the company. And if you don't like what you're doing, change. If you don't like what you're doing, go get another job. Find something else. I always say this: do your best and make your best better. Your life can be great, but it's going to take you taking charge of your life. You're going to have to take control of it. You're just one decision away from a better life. You're just one decision away from changing your life. You can change. That's the great thing about us as humans. We can change our lives in a minute. We can change our lives in a moment. All we have to do is just decide, hey, I'm tired of this. I'm going to do better. Like the old prodigal son in the hog pen. He wasted our substance on righteous living, and he's, living high, wide, and handsome, and the famine comes, and he's trying to live on what the hogs live on. He said, I'm tired of this. I'm going home. So just decide, hey, I'm tired of the way I'm living. I'm tired of what's going on in my life. I'm tired of not having enough. I'm tired of being, broke, busted, and disgusted. I'm tired of it. I want to change my life, and you can change your life if you just do it. All you got to do is just make the decision. Just say, hey, I'm going to I'm going to change my life. I'm going to get that attitude indicator up. Get the attitude indicator up above the horizon. You can have a great life. You can be blessed. You can have, it's up to you. The sky's the limit, but it's up to you. Get out there and do better. Say amen right there. Amen. Let me tell you, hey, this is Steve Andrews, and I pastor over at the Meadow Drive Baptist Church. Our address is 1000 Meadow Drive here in Huntsville. Zip code is 35816. It's Meadow Drive Baptist Church, 1000 Meadow Drive, Huntsville, Alabama, 35816. If I can help you with anything, get in touch with me. We have a small food pantry there at the church to help folks if they need it. But listen, if you're looking for a place to serve, we'd love to see you come visit with us sometime, but that's not what this broadcast is all about. If you never darkened the door of Meadow Drive Baptist Church, if I can help you do better, I've succeeded in what I wanted to do because I want to help you. And that's what some of the folks at Meadow Drive have decided to do. We're going to put a little money together and put a little money into Kitty and put it on here and try to help you do better, be better, and have a great life. You can have a great life. You can turn your life around today, and you can do more and be more if you just want more. But it's up to you. God bless you, neighbor. Goodbye.